What happens when the most powerful alpha king in werewolf history is struck by a dark curse that turns his own strength against him, when the kingdom's best healers fail to calm the violent episodes, when even his elite warriors step back in fear, and the only person brave enough to stay beside him through the worst night is a quiet Omega nobody thought was strong enough to matter? Cameron Peters, Alpha King of the Nightfall Dominion, had ruled with absolute authority for 8 years. He'd consolidated 5 major territories, commanded the loyalty of over 10,000 wolves, and maintained peace through a combination of strategic brilliance and overwhelming power. Then he was cursed. It happened during a diplomatic summit when Cameron executed a dark mage for attempting to assassinate visiting pack leaders. The mage's dying words, "Your strength will consume you. Your power will become your prison. And when the beast inside tears free, only the weakest among you will have the courage to face what you've become." Nobody understood what the curse meant until the first episode 3 days later. Cameron's alpha power turned inward, his wolf fighting his human consciousness for dominance. The transformation was horrific, not a normal shift but something twisted, painful, a battle between 2 halves of himself that left him violent, irrational, and dangerous to everyone around him. The kingdom's master healers tried everything. Magical suppression. Herbal sedatives. Ancient pack rituals designed to restore balance between wolf and human. Nothing worked. The episodes came every few days, lasting hours, leaving Cameron weaker each time as his own power slowly destroyed him from within. Elite warriors who'd fought beside their alpha king for years found themselves unable to approach during episodes. Cameron's strength, even cursed and uncontrolled, was too dangerous. They'd try to restrain him and get thrown across rooms. Try to calm him and get attacked by a wolf that didn't recognize allies. After the 3rd episode hospitalized 2 of Cameron's best guards, his council made a devastating decision. During episodes, everyone would evacuate and leave the Alpha King isolated until the curse passed. It was the only way to prevent casualties. But it was also destroying Cameron. Each episode left him more traumatized, more isolated, more convinced that the curse would eventually kill him and everyone he cared about. Then came the worst episode yet, a transformation so violent that it didn't end after hours. It continued through the night, Cameron's wolf completely overtaking his consciousness, leaving him trapped in shifted form, unable to remember who he was or why he was in pain. The healers evacuated. The warriors stepped back. The council debated whether they'd have to kill their own Alpha King to save the kingdom. And Margie Wason, a 23-year-old Omega who worked as an assistant in the healing wards, did something that would change everything. She stayed. Didn't evacuate with the other healers. Didn't retreat to safety like the warriors. Just quietly entered Cameron's private chambers where the cursed Alpha was destroying everything within reach, sat down on the floor within arm's distance of a wolf who could kill her with one strike, and started talking. Margie talked for 8 hours straight. Told stories about the kingdom, about pack members Cameron had helped, about the difference his leadership had made. Her voice, soft, steady, completely unafraid despite the danger, somehow cut through the curse's chaos. Cameron's wolf, which hadn't responded to magical suppression or warrior restraint or healer intervention, slowly calmed. Recognized something in Margie's presence that made the pain bearable. By dawn, Cameron had shifted back to human form for the first time in 12 hours. Collapsed on the floor of his destroyed chambers, weak and confused and finding a quiet Omega sitting beside him like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You stayed," Cameron managed, his voice raw from hours of growling and howling. "Everyone else left. You stayed." "Someone needed to," Margie said simply. "And I thought maybe you didn't need more power trying to suppress you. Maybe you just needed someone to remind you why fighting the curse matters." She'd fixed what the kingdom's best healers couldn't touch. Not through strength or magic or ancient rituals, but through presence, patience, and the kind of courage that had nothing to do with rank. And Cameron Peters, looking at the Omega who'd sat beside him through his worst nightmare, realized that sometimes the weakest wolves aren't weak at all. Sometimes they're just strong in ways nobody thought to measure. Think this is just a sweet Omega comforting her alpha? You're missing the conspiracy. Because what Margie doesn't know is that she's not actually Omega, she's a dormant dreamwalker, the rarest wolf bloodline in existence, capable of entering minds and calming supernatural chaos from within. Hit subscribe, because this story is about to reveal that sometimes the quiet Omega is actually a legendary bloodline in disguise, sometimes staying when everyone else runs isn't weakness but destiny, and sometimes fixing everything means accepting that you were never actually broken, you were just waiting for the right person to recognize what you could do. The healing ward was in chaos. Margie Wason pressed herself against the wall as master healers rushed past, carrying supplies, and shouting instructions to each other in voices barely controlled by professional calm. How long has he been shifted? 8 hours. The curse won't release him. Have you tried the suppression tonics? All of them. Nothing's working. His alpha power is fighting everything we do. Margie had been working in the healing ward for 2 years as an assistant, the lowest position, reserved for wolves whose abilities weren't strong enough for actual healer training. She mixed herbs, cleaned instruments, and generally stayed out of the way while more qualified wolves did the real work. But she'd been present for all 3 of Cameron's previous curse episodes. Had watched the kingdom's best healers fail to calm the Alpha King. Had seen the frustration and fear building each time. Now, during the 4th and worst episode, she watched the head healer, a stern woman named Octavia Thornwood, make a decision that made Margie's stomach drop. "We're evacuating," Octavia announced. "The Alpha King has been in full wolf form for 8 hours with no signs of regaining consciousness. His power levels are spiking beyond anything we can safely contain. Everyone out. Now." But Alpha Cameron, a junior healer, protested. "We'll be alone until the curse passes or until we're forced to make harder decisions," Octavia interrupted grimly. "I will not risk more healers being injured trying to treat an alpha who's currently beyond our abilities to help." The healers evacuated in organized chaos, gathering supplies and patients, clearing the ward. Margie followed mechanically, her mind spinning. They were leaving Cameron alone. Trapped in wolf form. Fighting a curse that was slowly killing him. Isolated in his private chambers while his own power consumed him from within. It felt wrong. Every instinct Margie had, instincts she'd learned to suppress because Omegas weren't supposed to have strong intuitions, screamed that leaving Cameron alone was the worst possible choice. But what could she do? She wasn't a trained healer. Had barely enough ability to sense injuries, let alone treat supernatural curses. She was Omega, the weakest rank, the one everyone protected and dismissed in equal measure. Still, as Margie walked through the palace corridors toward the evacuation point, she found her steps slowing. Found herself thinking about Cameron, not as the powerful Alpha King, but as a person who'd shown her unexpected kindness 2 years ago when she'd first started working in the healing ward. She'd been overwhelmed, struggling with herb classifications, nearly in tears from frustration. Cameron had found her in the supply room, taken one look at her distress, and spent 20 minutes patiently explaining the organizational system until she understood. An Alpha King. Taking time to help an Omega assistant nobody else noticed. Margie had never forgotten that kindness. And now he was alone, fighting a curse nobody could break, probably convinced that his own kingdom had abandoned him. Margie stopped walking. Made a decision that was either the bravest or stupidest thing she'd ever do. She turned around and headed toward Cameron's private chambers. The corridors were empty, everyone had evacuated to safe zones. Margie moved quickly, her heart hammering, very aware that she was violating direct orders from the head healer. She reached Cameron's chambers and heard the sounds before she saw anything: growls, crashes, the distinctive noise of furniture being destroyed by a wolf too big and too powerful for contained spaces. Margie's hand trembled as she opened the door. Cameron's chambers were wrecked. Furniture overturned. Walls gouged with claw marks. And in the center of the destruction, a massive black wolf paced with the kind of restless energy that suggested barely contained violence. The wolf was beautiful and terrifying, alpha power made physical, with silver eyes that flickered between intelligence and pure instinct. Those eyes landed on Margie. The wolf growled, a sound that made every prey instinct Margie possessed scream at her to run. Instead, she stepped fully into the room, closed the door behind her, and sat down on the floor about 15 feet from the pacing wolf. "Hello, Cameron," Margie said quietly. "Everyone left. I thought you might not want to be alone." The wolf's growl intensified. It moved closer, and Margie could see the curse magic, dark threads woven through the wolf's aura, corrupting the natural bond between human and wolf consciousness. "I'm not here to restrain you or suppress you or fix you with magic I don't have," Margie continued, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. "I'm just here to sit with you. To remind you that you're not alone. That your kingdom hasn't abandoned you, even if it feels that way right now." The wolf was close enough that Margie could feel the heat radiating from its body, could see the confusion and pain beneath the curse-driven aggression. "Can I tell you something?" Margie asked. 2 years ago, when I first started working in the healing ward, I was terrible at it. Couldn't classify herbs correctly, couldn't remember patient protocols, was convinced they'd fire me within a week. And then you found me having a breakdown in the supply room. The wolf's ears twitched, some part of Cameron's consciousness recognizing the memory. "You spent 20 minutes teaching me the organizational system. You, an Alpha King with 1,000 more important things to do, helped an Omega assistant nobody else had time for. You made me feel like maybe I wasn't worthless. Like maybe I could actually do this job if someone just showed me how." Margie settled more comfortably on the floor, her fear slowly being replaced by determination. "I never forgot that kindness. Never forgot that you saw me when everyone else looked past me. So now? Now I'm going to stay. Going to sit here and remind you who you are beneath this curse. Because I think maybe that's what you need, not more magic trying to suppress you, but someone to anchor you while you fight your way back." The wolf stared at her, silver eyes flickering with something that might have been recognition. And Margie started talking. She talked about the kingdom Cameron had built. About the alliances he'd forged. About pack members she'd overheard praising their Alpha King's leadership. About the difference he'd made in lives he probably didn't even realize he'd touched. She talked for hours. And slowly, impossibly, the cursed Alpha King began to calm. Margie had no idea how long she'd been talking. Hours, certainly. Her voice was getting hoarse, her stories becoming more rambling as exhaustion set in. But she didn't stop. Because it was working. Cameron's wolf had stopped pacing. Had settled into a position about 10 feet from Margie, watching her with eyes that were slowly becoming less wild, more focused. The curse was still there, Margie could see the dark magic pulsing through Cameron's aura. But somehow, her presence was helping him fight it. "Tell me if I'm boring you," Margie said around hour 5. "Because I've definitely run out of interesting stories and I'm now just describing the herb garden organization system, which cannot be fascinating for anyone." The wolf's tail twitched. If Margie didn't know better, she'd swear Cameron was amused. "Okay, herb gardens definitely aren't working. Let me think of something else." Margie shifted position, her back aching from sitting on the floor. "Did you know that the junior healer, Finn Ashford, is completely terrified of you? Not because you're scary, but because he once confused a medicinal moonbell with a toxic nightshade during your presence and he's convinced you remember and are judging him for it. The wolf's ears perked forward. You probably don't remember. It was months ago during a supply inventory. But poor Finn thinks you're going to fire him any day for that mistake. I keep telling him you've got bigger things to worry about than one classification error, but he's paranoid. Margie continued, sharing small stories about pack members, the kind of everyday details that probably seemed trivial but painted a picture of the kingdom Cameron led. Around hour 6, something shifted. The curse magic pulsed violently, and Cameron's wolf lunged to its feet with a howl of pain. Margie's breath caught, but she didn't move. Didn't run. Just kept talking, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I know it hurts. I know the curse is fighting you. But you're stronger than it is, Cameron. You just have to remember that. Remember who you are. Remember why you're fighting. The wolf was trembling, caught between the curse trying to maintain control and Cameron's consciousness fighting to resurface. You're Alpha King Cameron Peters, Margie said firmly. You've ruled for 8 years. You've protected this kingdom through threats that would have destroyed lesser leaders. You've built alliances, maintained peace, and made decisions that saved thousands of lives. This curse doesn't get to take that away from you. The wolf met her eyes, and Margie saw something that made her heart ache, Cameron's consciousness, trapped and desperate, trying to claw its way back through the curse's suppression. Come back, Margie whispered. I'm right here. Come back to yourself. She did something incredibly stupid. She stood up and walked directly toward the cursed alpha wolf. Every instinct screamed that this was suicide. Cameron was barely conscious, still mostly controlled by curse magic, absolutely capable of killing her without meaning to. But Margie's intuition, that strange, inexplicable sense she'd always had but never understood, told her this was exactly what Cameron needed. She stopped directly in front of the wolf, close enough to touch, and very carefully placed her hand on Cameron's massive head. You're not alone, Margie said quietly. I'm here. And I'm not leaving. The moment her hand made contact, something extraordinary happened. Margie felt a rush of sensation that wasn't physical, like diving into cold water, like breaking through a barrier she hadn't known existed. Suddenly she wasn't just sitting beside Cameron. She was in his mind. Margie gasped as Cameron's consciousness flooded her awareness. She felt the curse from his perspective, the dark magic wrapped around his thoughts, the constant battle between human reason and wolf instinct, the exhaustion of fighting his own power for hours. And she felt Cameron's desperation. His certainty that he was losing the fight. His fear that he'd hurt someone he cared about. His growing conviction that maybe the kingdom would be better off without him. No, Margie said aloud, her hand still on Cameron's wolf form. You're wrong. The kingdom needs you. I need you to come back. And then, without understanding how, Margie reached into Cameron's consciousness and touched the curse. It fought her instantly, dark magic trying to expel the intrusion, to maintain its hold on Cameron's mind. But Margie's presence, whatever strange ability she was using, seemed to calm the chaos. Seemed to create space for Cameron to fight back. Through their unexpected connection, Margie felt Cameron's consciousness surge forward, using her presence as an anchor, fighting the curse with renewed strength. The battle lasted another 2 hours. Margie stayed connected to Cameron's mind, providing stability, talking him through the worst moments, refusing to let go no matter how hard the curse tried to break their connection. By the time dawn light began filtering through the destroyed chambers, Cameron had won. The shift from wolf to human was slow and painful, bones cracking, fur receding, Cameron's body remembering its human form after 12 hours trapped in wolf shape. When it finally completed, Cameron collapsed on the floor, gasping, weak, but conscious and himself. Margie dropped to her knees beside him, exhausted from hours of maintaining a connection she still didn't understand. "You stayed," Cameron said, his voice raw. "Everyone else left. You stayed." "Someone needed to," Margie replied. "And I thought maybe you didn't need more power trying to suppress you. Maybe you just needed someone to remind you why fighting matters." Cameron looked at her, really looked at her, and Margie saw the moment he realized something significant had happened. "You were in my head," Cameron said. "I felt you. You touched the curse somehow." "How did you?" "I don't know," Margie admitted. I put my hand on you and suddenly I could feel what you were feeling. Could sense the curse. Could help you fight it." "That's not a normal Omega ability," Cameron said slowly. "I'm not a very normal Omega," Margie replied with a weak smile. Before they could discuss further, the chamber doors burst open. Octavia Thornwood entered with a group of healers and guards, all of them stopping short at the sight of Cameron in human form and very much alive. "Alpha King," Octavia said, relief and confusion warring in her voice. "We felt the curse break. We thought, how did you?" "Margie," Cameron said simply, his eyes never leaving the Omega who'd saved him. "She stayed. She fought the curse with me. She brought me back." Every eye in the room turned to Margie. She suddenly felt very self-conscious, very aware that she'd violated evacuation orders and done something that apparently shouldn't be possible. "I'm sorry I disobeyed orders," Margie said to Octavia. "I know I was supposed to evacuate. I couldn't leave him alone." Octavia studied Margie with an expression that was hard to read. "What exactly did you do?" "I talked to him. Stayed beside him. And then I touched him and I could feel his mind. Could sense the curse. Could help him fight it." Margie knew how insane that sounded. "I don't know how." "Dreamwalker," one of the older healers breathed. "She's Dreamwalker bloodline." The room went silent. "That's impossible," Octavia said flatly. "Dreamwalker bloodline is extinct. The last confirmed Dreamwalker died over a century ago." "Then how else do you explain an Omega entering the Alpha King's cursed mind and helping him break through dark magic that defeated every master healer in the kingdom?" the older healer challenged. Margie had no idea what they were talking about. "What's Dreamwalker bloodline?" "The rarest wolf ability in existence," Cameron said, his voice weak but steady. "Dreamwalkers can enter minds, calm supernatural chaos, create mental connections that bypass normal pack bonds. They're legendary. And supposedly extinct." "I'm not legendary," Margie protested. I'm Omega. I barely have any abilities at all." "You have abilities you've never accessed because nobody recognized what you were," the older healer interrupted. "Dreamwalker bloodline often presents as weak or dormant until triggered by extreme circumstances. Like an Alpha King cursed and dying while everyone with power ran away." Margie tried to process this. "So I'm not actually Omega?" "You might still be an Omega rank," Octavia said slowly. "Dreamwalker is a bloodline, not a rank. It's rare to the point of being mythological, but it exists. And if you really did enter Alpha Cameron's mind and help him fight the curse." She trailed off, looking between Margie and Cameron with calculating expressions. "What happens now?" Margie asked. "Now," Cameron said, finally managing to sit up despite his weakness, "you're going to train with our most experienced mind healers to learn how to control these abilities. Because if you can touch curse magic the way you touched mine, you might be able to break it completely." "And if she can't?" one of the guards asked. "Then at minimum, she can help me survive the episodes until we find another solution." Cameron's eyes met Margie's. "If you're willing." "Of course I'm willing," Margie said immediately. I told you, I'm not leaving you alone in this. Something passed between them in that moment. Something that made Octavia's eyes narrow with understanding that she didn't share. Get the Alpha King to his healing suite, Octavia ordered. Full examination. I want to know what damage 12 hours of curse suppression did to his system. Margie, you come with me. We need to test these supposed Dreamwalker abilities properly before we make any decisions about your role going forward. As healers helped Cameron to his feet, he caught Margie's hand briefly. Thank you, he said quietly. For staying. For fighting with me. For giving me a reason to keep fighting. Always, Margie replied. And neither of them realized how literally true that promise was about to become. So Margie went from quiet Omega assistant nobody notices to maybe legendary Dreamwalker bloodline everyone thought was extinct in approximately 8 hours. Identity speedrun. Saved the Alpha King by sitting beside him and talking while everyone with actual power ran away, courage activated, and accidentally created a mental connection to Cameron that nobody's explaining the full implications of yet. Destiny loading. Subscribe now, because what comes after involves Margie discovering her Dreamwalker abilities include way more than just calming cursed alphas, Cameron revealing he knows exactly why the curse was placed and it's directly connected to Margie's bloodline, and both of them learning that staying beside him didn't just save his life, it created a soul bond that means they literally can't be separated without killing them both. Octavia led Margie to a private testing chamber deep in the healing ward, a room specifically designed for evaluating rare or dangerous magical abilities. Sit, Octavia instructed, gesturing to a chair in the center of a circle carved with protective runes. Margie sat, nervous. What are we testing exactly? Whether you actually accessed Alpha Cameron's mind or if what happened was a stress-induced hallucination that coincidentally occurred while the curse weakened on its own. Octavia's tone was clinical. Dreamwalker abilities, if they truly exist in you, should be testable under controlled conditions. The older healer who'd identified Margie's bloodline entered, a woman named Cordelia Nightshade who looked ancient but moved with surprising energy. I studied the Dreamwalker bloodline for 40 years, Cordelia said, settling into a chair across from Margie. Never thought I'd actually meet one. If you're genuine, this is the most significant magical discovery in a century. And if I'm not genuine? Margie asked. Then you're an Omega who got very lucky during a curse episode and we're wasting time. Octavia's bluntness was characteristic. Let's begin. Margie, I want you to attempt to sense my thoughts. Don't try to enter my mind, just see if you can perceive my mental state. Margie had no idea how to do that. I don't know how I did it with Cameron. It just happened when I touched him. Then touch me, Octavia said, extending her hand. Margie took the healer's hand carefully. Nothing happened. Try focusing, Cordelia suggested. Think about how it felt when you connected with Alpha Cameron. What did you do differently? Margie closed her eyes, remembering. I wasn't trying to do anything magical. I was so worried about him. I wanted to help so badly that I stopped thinking about whether I could and just reached for him. Emotional motivation, Cordelia murmured. That tracks with historical Dreamwalker accounts. The ability activates through genuine emotional connection, not conscious magical effort. So I can only use it when I care deeply about someone? Margie asked. Potentially. Or it might strengthen with training until you can activate it consciously. Cordelia pulled out an ancient journal. According to records, Dreamwalkers bonded most strongly with specific individuals. Usually mates or very close family members. The deeper the emotional connection, the stronger the dreamwalking ability became. Something about that made Margie's stomach flip. Are you saying that because I connected with Cameron, I'm, what? Bonded to him somehow? We need to test that, Octavia said. But first, try sensing someone you have an existing emotional connection to. Think of someone in this building you care about. Someone whose well-being matters to you. Margie thought of Finn Ashford, the junior healer who'd been kind to her when other healers dismissed her as useless Omega. She focused on that connection, the gratitude she felt for Finn's friendship, the concern she had about his anxiety regarding Cameron. And suddenly she could sense Finn. Not his thoughts exactly, but his emotional state. He was 2 floors up, working in the preparation room, feeling anxious and exhausted and worried about something. Finn, Margie said, her eyes flying open. I can sense Finn Ashford. He's upstairs. He's anxious about something. Octavia immediately sent a messenger to verify. 2 minutes later, confirmation came back. Finn was indeed upstairs and had just confessed to another healer that he was worried about being blamed for the Alpha King's condition since he'd been on duty when the latest episode started. Legitimate dreamwalker perception, Cordelia said with something like awe. You sensed the emotional state and general location of someone you have personal connection to. That's entry-level dreamwalking. What's advanced level? Margie asked nervously. Entering minds completely. Manipulating emotions. Breaking curses from within someone's consciousness. Creating permanent soul bonds that link 2 individuals across distance and time. Cordelia's voice was matter-of-fact. And based on what you did with Alpha Cameron, entering his cursed mind and helping him fight dark magic, you're already demonstrating advanced abilities without training. That seems dangerous, Margie said. It is dangerous, Octavia agreed. Which is why we need to train you immediately. Uncontrolled dreamwalking can damage both you and anyone you connect with. You could accidentally trap yourself in someone's mind. Could absorb curse magic that corrupts your own consciousness. Could create bonds you can't break. Like with Cameron? Margie asked quietly. The 2 older healers exchanged glances. We need to examine that connection specifically, Cordelia said. Margie, I want you to try sensing Alpha Cameron the way you sensed Finn. Tell me what you perceive. Margie focused on Cameron, the Alpha King who'd shown her unexpected kindness, who she'd sat beside for 8 hours, whose mind she'd touched. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. She could feel Cameron like he was in the room with her. Could sense his exhaustion, his residual pain from the curse, his confusion about what had happened. Could feel the bond between them humming with an intensity that made her gasp. He's in the healing suite 3 floors up, Margie said. He's weak but recovering. He's thinking about. She paused, surprised. He's thinking about me. About whether I'm okay. Whether the healers are treating me fairly. That's not normal dreamwalker perception, Cordelia said slowly. That's a soul bond level connection. You're not just sensing his emotional state, you're experiencing his actual thoughts and feelings as if they were your own. What does that mean? Margie asked, though part of her already knew the answer. It means, Octavia said carefully, that when you entered Alpha Cameron's mind during the curse episode, you didn't just help him fight the dark magic. You created a permanent bond between your consciousness and his. You're connected now in ways that go beyond normal pack bonds or even mate bonds. Margie's heart was racing. Can it be broken? We don't know, Cordelia admitted. Historical records suggest that dreamwalker soul bonds were permanent once formed. But those records are incomplete and possibly exaggerated. We'd need to study your connection carefully to understand its nature and limitations. And if we can't break it? Margie asked. The healers exchanged another glance. Then you and Alpha Cameron are bound for life, Octavia said bluntly. Your consciousnesses are linked. Separating you for extended periods could cause psychological damage to both of you. And if one of you dies, the other would likely suffer severe mental trauma or potentially die as well. The implications hit Margie like a physical blow. I accidentally trapped us both in a permanent bond? You saved the Alpha King's life, Cordelia corrected gently. The bond was likely the only reason you could reach him through the curse. It's not a trap, it's a lifeline that happened to be permanent. Does Cameron know? Margie asked. He will once we've examined him and confirmed the bond from his side, Octavia said. But Margie, you need to understand something. Soul bonds of this magnitude are incredibly rare. The political and social implications are significant. An Omega bonded to the Alpha King in ways that make separation dangerous or impossible? That will change your entire life. How? Margie asked, though she suspected she knew. You'll need to stay close to Alpha Cameron, Cordelia said. Live in the palace. Be available during any future curse episodes. Function essentially as his personal healer and mind anchor. You'll be elevated from assistant to a position of significant importance within the kingdom. I don't want importance, Margie said. I just wanted to help him. Then focus on that, Octavia advised. Help him. Learn to control your abilities. Work with us to understand the curse and potentially break it completely. But accept that your life as an anonymous Omega assistant is over. You're Dreamwalker now. Bonded to the Alpha King. That makes you one of the most significant wolves in this kingdom whether you want the attention or not. Margie sat in silence, processing everything. She'd gone into Cameron's chambers thinking she'd just sit with him through a bad night. Instead, she'd awakened legendary bloodline abilities and created a permanent soul bond with the most powerful Alpha in 5 territories. What do I do now? Margie asked quietly. Now, Octavia said, you go see Alpha Cameron. He deserves to know what happened directly from you before rumors spread through the palace. And you both need to discuss what this bond means for your futures. Margie stood on shaky legs. What if he's angry? What if he didn't want to be bonded to me? Then you'll deal with that together, Cordelia said kindly. But Margie? From what I've seen, Alpha Cameron has been looking for someone who could help him fight the curse for months. You did what our most powerful healers couldn't. I don't think anger is the emotion you need to worry about. Cameron was sitting up in bed when Margie entered his healing suite, looking exhausted but more alert than he'd been after previous curse episodes. His eyes tracked her movement across the room with an intensity that made Margie's breath catch. They told you, Cameron said. Not a question. About the soul bond? Yes. Margie stopped a few feet from the bed. I'm sorry. I didn't know that touching you would create a permanent connection. I was just trying to help. I know, Cameron interrupted. I felt it happen. Felt the moment our consciousness connected. It was the only thing that let me break through the curse's hold. Are you angry? Margie asked. Angry that you saved my life? No. Cameron's voice was firm. Concerned about the implications of a soul bond neither of us anticipated? Yes. But angry at you? Never. Margie moved closer, perching carefully on the edge of a chair beside the bed. Octavia said the bond means we can't be separated for extended periods. That we're connected in ways that go beyond normal pack bonds. I can feel you, Cameron said quietly. Right now. Can sense your anxiety, your confusion, your worry about how I'm reacting to all this. It's like you're a presence in the back of my mind that I'm constantly aware of. Is it uncomfortable? Margie asked. No. It's. Cameron paused, clearly trying to find the right words. It's grounding. After months of fighting a curse that makes me feel like I'm losing control of my own mind, having your presence there is like having an anchor. Something stable to hold on to. Through the bond Margie was just beginning to understand, she felt Cameron's sincerity. He wasn't just being kind, he genuinely found the connection comforting rather than invasive. Cordelia said, "I'm Dreamwalker bloodline," Margie said. "That what I did, entering your mind, helping you fight the curse, that's an ability that's supposed to be extinct." Dreamwalkers were legendary, Cameron agreed. "I've read historical accounts. They could do things with consciousness and mental magic that no other bloodline could match. If you really are Dreamwalker, that explains how you reached me when nothing else worked." "But I'm also Omega," Margie pointed out. "How can I be both legendary bloodline and lowest rank?" "Bloodline and rank aren't the same thing," Cameron said. "You can have powerful magical abilities and still be Omega in terms of physical strength and pack hierarchy. Dreamwalker abilities work through mental and emotional connections, not physical dominance." "So I'm a weak wolf with rare mental powers," Margie summarized. "You're a Dreamwalker who happens to be of Omega rank," Cameron corrected. "That's not weakness, that's a combination that makes you unique. Possibly the only wolf alive with your specific abilities." Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's respect. He genuinely saw her Dreamwalker abilities as valuable, not diminished by her Omega status. "What happens now?" Margie asked. "Now we figure out how to work together," Cameron said. "The curse isn't broken, just suppressed for the moment. It'll come back. And when it does, I'll need you to help me fight it the way you did last night." "I don't know how to control the dreamwalking consciously," Margie admitted. "It just happened because I was so worried about you." "Then we'll work with the healers to train you." Cordelia studied the Dreamwalker bloodline for decades. If anyone can teach you control, it's her. Cameron shifted position carefully, still weak from the curse episode. "But Margie, you need to understand what you're agreeing to. Being bonded to me, helping me fight this curse, it's going to put you in danger. Whoever cursed me did it for a reason. When they realize you can counter their magic, they'll target you too." "Who cursed you?" Margie asked. "Do you know?" Cameron hesitated, then made a decision. "I have suspicions. The mage I executed, the one who cursed me with his dying words, he was working for someone. Someone powerful enough to coordinate an assassination attempt at a diplomatic summit. Someone who wanted me destabilized or dead." "Why?" "Because I've been investigating the Council of Shadows," Cameron said quietly. "They're a conspiracy that's been controlling werewolf politics for generations. Most alphas don't even know they exist. But I've been gathering evidence of their manipulation, planning to expose them. The curse was probably meant to either kill me before I could reveal what I know or discredit me so thoroughly that no one would believe my accusations." Margie felt cold. "So me helping you fight the curse makes me a threat to this conspiracy?" "Yes," Cameron said honestly. "Which is why I'll understand if you want to minimize the bond. Stay distant. Protect yourself by not getting more involved than you already are." Through the bond, Margie felt what Cameron wasn't saying, his hope that she'd stay, his certainty that she'd choose self-preservation over continuing to help him. "I'm not leaving," Margie said firmly. "I told you I'd stay beside you. I meant it. Conspiracy or no conspiracy." Cameron's relief flooded through the bond. "You understand what you're risking?" "I understand that you've been fighting this alone for months. I understand that healers and warriors couldn't help you because they approached the curse as something to suppress rather than something to fight from within. I understand that my Dreamwalker abilities let me reach you in ways no one else can." Margie met his eyes steadily. "And I understand that staying beside you is dangerous. But so is letting conspiracies control kingdoms through curses and assassinations. If I can help stop that, I will." "You're braver than most warriors I know," Cameron said softly. "I'm terrified," Margie corrected. But sometimes being brave just means staying when everyone else runs, right? Through the bond, emotions passed between them too complex to name: gratitude, respect, the beginning of something deeper that neither was ready to acknowledge yet. "We should tell the council," Cameron said. "About the bond. About your dreamwalker abilities. They deserve to know that their Alpha King is now permanently linked to an Omega healer." "Will they object?" Margie asked nervously. "Probably," Cameron admitted. "Soul bonds aren't common, and the political implications of me being bound to someone outside the traditional power structure will make some council members uncomfortable. But it's not their choice. The bond exists. We deal with reality, not what's politically convenient." A knock at the door interrupted them. Octavia entered with Cordelia and 3 members of Cameron's council, his beta, Hadrian Corvus, and 2 senior advisors. "Alpha King," Hadrian said formally. "We need to discuss what happened last night. The entire palace is talking about the Omega who stayed when everyone else evacuated and somehow brought you back from the curse." "Her name is Margie Wason," Cameron said. "And she didn't somehow bring me back. She's Dreamwalker bloodline. She entered my mind, connected with my consciousness, and helped me fight the curse from within." The council members' reactions ranged from shock to skepticism. "Dreamwalker bloodline is extinct," one advisor said flatly. "Apparently not," Cordelia interjected. "I've tested her. She has legitimate Dreamwalker abilities, mental perception, emotional sensing, and the capacity to enter minds and affect consciousness directly. It's the rarest magical bloodline in recorded history, and she has it. And there's more," Cameron said. "When Margie connected with me to fight the curse, we formed a soul bond. Permanent mental and emotional connection that the healers believe can't be broken." The council erupted. "A soul bond? With an Omega? What are the implications for pack hierarchy? Can this be verified? Does this affect succession?" Cameron let them talk for a moment, then used his alpha command to silence the room. "Enough. The bond exists. It's been verified by our most experienced healers. The implications are significant, yes. Margie will need to stay close to me, will function as my personal mind healer and anchor during curse episodes, and will hold a position of importance within the palace regardless of her Omega rank." "This is highly irregular," Hadrian said carefully. "Not that I object to Margie, I'm grateful she saved your life. But Alpha King, a soul bond of this magnitude changes everything about how you can function politically. If you're linked to someone without traditional power base or pack connections, then I'm linked to someone who can't be manipulated by existing power structures," Cameron interrupted. "Someone whose loyalty is to me personally rather than political factions. Someone who proved last night that she values my life over following orders or protecting her own safety." Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's determination to protect her from council politics. "I'm not trying to gain power," Margie said quietly. "I just want to help Alpha Cameron fight the curse. Everything else is. I didn't ask for this. Didn't plan it. It just happened because I couldn't leave him alone." Something in her sincerity seemed to reach the skeptical council members. "No one doubts your intentions," Hadrian said more gently. "But you need to understand, being soul bonded to the Alpha King makes you one of the most significant wolves in this kingdom whether you intended it or not. People will watch you. Judge you. Try to use your connection to Cameron for their own purposes. Then we protect her," Cameron said firmly. "Assign guards. Provide training in both dreamwalking abilities and basic self-defense. Make it clear that anyone attempting to manipulate or harm Margie will answer to me personally." "And the curse?" one advisor asked. "Does this bond actually help break it or just manage symptoms?" "We don't know yet," Octavia admitted. But Margie's abilities allowed Alpha Cameron to regain consciousness after 12 hours when every other intervention failed. At minimum, she can help him survive episodes. At maximum, she might be able to break the curse completely with proper training. How long would that training take? Hadrian asked. Weeks, Cordelia said. Possibly months. Dreamwalker abilities are complex. Teaching Margie to control them while also investigating the curse structure will be time-intensive. Then we start immediately, Cameron decided. Margie, you'll work with Cordelia daily to develop your abilities. I'll work with Octavia to document the curse's behavior and identify patterns. And together, we'll figure out how to break this completely. What about the conspiracy you mentioned? Margie asked. The Council of Shadows? Won't they respond once they realize I'm helping you? Undoubtedly, Cameron said grimly. Which is why security around both of us increases immediately. No one outside this room knows about the Council of Shadows investigation yet. We keep it that way until we're ready to move against them. The meeting continued for another hour, establishing protocols and security measures. By the end, Margie's head was spinning with information. She'd gone from anonymous Omega assistant to soul-bonded Dreamwalker, being assigned personal guards and magical training in less than 24 hours. When the council finally left, Cameron caught Margie's hand. I meant what I said, he told her quietly. Thank you for staying. For fighting with me. For giving me hope that maybe this curse isn't the death sentence I thought it was. We'll break it, Margie promised. Together. Through the bond, she felt Cameron's belief in that promise. And neither of them realized just how literally they'd have to fight together to survive what was coming. The next 3 weeks were the most intensive of Margie's life. Mornings with Cordelia, learning to consciously activate her Dreamwalker abilities instead of just reacting emotionally. Afternoons with Octavia, studying curse structures and magical theory. Evenings with Cameron, testing the soul bond's limits and learning to communicate through it. And through it all, Margie felt herself changing. Becoming stronger, more confident, more aware of abilities she'd suppressed her entire life because Omegas weren't supposed to be powerful. Focus, Cordelia instructed during their 5th training session. You're trying to force the connection. Dreamwalking isn't about force, it's about invitation. Asking permission to enter someone's consciousness rather than demanding access. They were practicing on Finn Ashford, who'd volunteered despite obvious nervousness about having an Omega enter his mind. Margie took a breath and tried again. This time, instead of pushing toward Finn's consciousness, she reached out gently. May I? She thought toward him. Through the tentative connection, she felt Finn's surprise and then his consent. The connection solidified, and suddenly Margie was perceiving Finn's thoughts, not reading them word for word, but sensing the general shape of his consciousness. His anxiety about making mistakes. His pride in his healing work. His genuine friendship for Margie despite the dramatic change in her status. I'm in, Margie said aloud. I can sense his emotional landscape. He's nervous but willing. Proud of his work but insecure about his abilities. Accurate, Finn confirmed. It's weird feeling you in my head, but not invasive. More like having a friendly presence observing without judging. That's ideal dreamwalking, Cordelia said with satisfaction. Observation without manipulation. Now, Margie, try withdrawing cleanly. Don't just drop the connection, ease out gradually so Finn doesn't experience mental whiplash. Margie carefully extracted herself from Finn's consciousness, thanking him silently as she went. The connection faded smoothly. Excellent, Cordelia declared. You're learning control faster than I expected. Within another few weeks, you should be able to dreamwalk with most willing subjects without difficulty. What about unwilling subjects? Margie asked. Like the curse? That's more complex. Entering a hostile consciousness requires significantly more power and skill. You managed it with Alpha Cameron because your emotional connection to him gave you leverage the curse couldn't block. But attempting it on a true enemy without that connection? Very dangerous. Later that afternoon, working with Octavia, Margie examined preserved samples of curse magic the healers had managed to collect from Cameron during previous episodes. The curse isn't random dark magic, Octavia explained. It's specifically designed to turn Cameron's alpha power against him. The stronger he is, the more violent the episodes become. It's elegant in a horrifying way, using his greatest strength as the weapon to destroy him. Can we remove it? Margie asked. Not through conventional healing. The curse is woven too deeply into his consciousness. Trying to rip it out would damage his mind irreparably. Octavia's voice was grim. But your Dreamwalker abilities offer a different approach. If you can enter his consciousness during a controlled episode and unravel the curse from within while he fights it externally, we might be able to break it without causing permanent damage, Margie finished. Theoretically. But it would require perfect timing, absolute trust between you and Cameron, and dreamwalking skill you don't quite have yet. Octavia met Margie's eyes. And it would be incredibly dangerous for both of you. If something goes wrong, if the curse captures you while you're dreamwalking, if Cameron loses control while you're connected, you could both die or suffer brain damage. But it's possible? Margie pressed. Possible. Not probable. Not safe. But possible. Octavia sighed. I'd prefer to find another solution. But if we can't, and Cameron's episodes continue worsening, attempting a dreamwalking cure might be our only option. That evening, Margie met Cameron in his private study, a comfortable room where they'd been practicing bond communication away from the palace's scrutiny. How was training? Cameron asked. Intense. Cordelia says I'm improving faster than expected. Octavia says breaking the curse through dreamwalking is theoretically possible but incredibly dangerous. Margie settled into the chair across from Cameron's desk. How are you feeling? Any signs of another episode approaching? Not yet. But it's been 3 weeks since the last one. Based on patterns, I'm due for another soon. Cameron's voice was steady, but through the bond, Margie felt his underlying anxiety. We'll handle it, Margie said. Together. Like last time. Last time you had no training and acted purely on instinct, Cameron pointed out. This time you know the risks. Know what you're walking into. That makes it harder, not easier. Maybe. But I also have better control now. Can dreamwalk consciously instead of just reacting emotionally. That has to count for something. Through the bond, Cameron's gratitude was warm and constant. You know the council has been asking about our bond. Specifically whether it affects pack hierarchy or succession. What did you tell them? That the bond is personal, not political. That you're my mind healer and anchor, not my mate or Luna. Cameron paused. Unless you want to be. Margie's heart skipped. Want to be what? More than just bonded out of magical necessity. More than healer and patient. Cameron's voice was careful. The soul bond connects us mentally and emotionally. But that doesn't automatically mean romantic involvement unless we choose it. Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's hope and fear balanced perfectly, hoping she'd want more, fearing she'd feel obligated or pressured. I care about you, Margie said honestly. Not just because of the bond. Because of who you are, the Alpha King who took time to help a struggling Omega 2 years ago, who fights a curse that would break most wolves, who's investigating conspiracies to protect his kingdom. I care about that person. But Cameron prompted. But I don't know if what I feel is genuine attraction or just bond proximity, Margie admitted. How do I separate my actual feelings from magical connection? How do I know if I'm choosing you or if the soul bond is choosing for me? You don't, Cameron said quietly. Not immediately. But over time, as we work together, as the bond becomes familiar instead of new, I think we'll both know what's real and what's magical compulsion. And if it's all magical compulsion? If the bond created feelings that wouldn't exist otherwise? Then we acknowledge that and maintain a professional relationship, Cameron said. I won't pressure you into romance because we're soul bonded. You deserve choice, Margie. About your future, your relationships, your life. The bond took those choices away in some respects. I won't take more. Through the bond, Margie felt the absolute sincerity of that promise. Thank you, she said. For understanding that I need time to figure out what's real. Take all the time you need, Cameron replied. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the bond humming between them. Then Cameron stiffened, his hand going to his chest. What's wrong? Margie asked, already sensing the answer through the bond. Episode starting, Cameron gasped. Earlier than expected. Stronger than before. Margie, you need to. He didn't finish the sentence. The curse seized him with violent intensity, forcing a shift that was too fast, too painful, too wrong. Margie was already moving, already reaching through the bond, already preparing to dreamwalk. I've got you, she said as Cameron's wolf form took over. We'll fight this together. Just like before. But as the curse magic flooded through the bond, stronger and more malicious than ever, Margie realized something terrifying. This wasn't a random episode. Someone had deliberately triggered the curse. And they'd made it strong enough to kill. So Margie went from basic dreamwalking training to the curse just got weaponized and deliberately triggered to kill Cameron in approximately 3 weeks. Escalation activated, learned that breaking the curse requires perfect timing and absolute trust while both of them could die if anything goes wrong, no pressure. And was just starting to figure out whether her feelings for Cameron are real or bond proximity when the conspiracy decided to force the issue by trying to murder him through. Curse amplification, romantic timing ruined. Subscribe now, because what comes after involves Margie attempting her first conscious dreamwalking cure while the curse actively fights back. The episode was different from the start. Cameron's transformation wasn't just painful, it was violent in ways that suggested external manipulation. His wolf form was larger, more aggressive, the curse magic burning through his system like poison. And through the bond, Margie felt everything. Someone triggered this deliberately, she gasped to Cordelia, who'd rushed to Cameron's chambers with other healers. The curse was dormant and then something activated it. Made it stronger. Curse magic can be remotely triggered if the caster is still alive, Cordelia said grimly. But it requires proximity or a powerful conduit. Whoever did this is either in the palace or has someone here working for them. Cameron's wolf was destroying his chambers with methodical violence, the curse driving him to attack anything within reach. Everyone out, Margie ordered, her voice carrying unexpected authority. I'm going to dreamwalk. Try to break the curse from within like Octavia described. You're not ready, Cordelia protested. We haven't finished your training. Cameron is dying, Margie interrupted, feeling his pain through the bond, feeling the curse burning through his life force faster than his alpha healing could compensate. If I don't try now, there won't be another chance to prepare. Everyone out. Now. Her tone brooked no argument. The healers evacuated, leaving Margie alone with the cursed Alpha King. Cameron, Margie said, moving closer to the massive black wolf. I know you can hear me through the bond. I know you're fighting this. I'm going to help. Going to dreamwalk into your consciousness and fight the curse from within. But I need you to let me in. To trust me completely. Through the bond, she felt Cameron's consciousness struggling beneath the curse's suppression. Felt his desperation and his fear, not for himself, but for her safety if she attempted this. I know it's dangerous, Margie continued. But you stayed alive for 3 weeks so I could train. Now I'm using that training. Trust me the way I trusted you. She placed both hands on Cameron's wolf form, closed her eyes, and consciously activated her dreamwalking abilities. The transition was immediate and disorienting. Suddenly Margie was inside Cameron's consciousness, a mental landscape that looked like the palace but twisted by curse magic. Dark vines of corruption wrapped around every surface, pulsing with malicious energy. And at the center, Cameron's consciousness fought desperately against the curse trying to consume him. Margie? Cameron's mental voice was shocked. You're dreamwalking. Told you I'd fight beside you, Margie replied, moving through his mental landscape toward where the curse was concentrated. Now show me where this thing is anchored. We're breaking it. Together, they navigated Cameron's cursed consciousness. Margie could see the curse structure now, not just dark magic, but deliberate construction. Someone had woven this curse with surgical precision, designed to feed on Cameron's alpha power and grow stronger the more he fought it. It's brilliant, Margie said, horrified. Whoever made this knew exactly how you'd respond. Knew you'd fight with everything you had. That's why conventional healing failed. Every attempt to suppress it just made you fight harder, which fed the curse more power. Can you break it? Cameron asked. Maybe. But Margie, his mental voice was urgent. You need to see something first. The curse isn't just random dark magic. Look at the structure. Really look. Margie examined the curse more carefully and felt cold realization settle. The curse pattern matched historical designs documented in Cordelia's ancient texts. Designs used by the Council of Shadows when they wanted to control or eliminate alphas who threatened their power. This is council magic, Margie said. They cursed you. Not because of the mage you executed, that was just the delivery method. They cursed you because of your investigation. And there's more, Cameron said. Look at the center. At what the curse is actually designed to do. Margie focused on the curse's core and gasped. The curse wasn't designed to kill Cameron directly. It was designed to make him unstable, violent, uncontrollable, to destroy his reputation and leadership so thoroughly that the kingdom would be forced to remove him from power. But there was a secondary function woven into the curse structure. A contingency that would activate if Cameron ever found someone who could actually help him fight it. A contingency that would kill both Cameron and anyone soul bonded to him if they attempted to break the curse. It's a trap, Margie realized. The curse was designed knowing that eventually you'd find a dreamwalker. Knowing that we'd bond. Knowing that I'd try to break it. And the moment I actually attempt to unravel the curse structure. It kills us both, Cameron finished. Margie, you need to stop. Withdraw from my consciousness. The curse is designed to destroy anyone who can actually cure it. Then we don't cure it directly, Margie said, her mind racing. We trick it. What? The curse is designed to kill us if I try to break it. But what if I don't try to break it? What if I just redirect it? I don't understand. The curse feeds on your alpha power, right? Use your strength against you. But what if we gave it something else to feed on? Something that looks like your alpha power but isn't? Through the bond, Cameron's understanding dawned. You want to feed it false energy. Make it think it's still consuming my power when really it's just burning itself out. Exactly. I can't break the curse without triggering the kill contingency. But I can starve it. Make it consume itself instead of you. That would require you to create false alpha energy convincing enough to fool sophisticated curse magic, Cameron said. Can you do that? I don't know, Margie admitted. But I'm going to try. Because the alternative is watching this curse kill you slowly while being unable to help. She focused on the bond between them, the soul bond that connected their consciousnesses. Through it, she could feel Cameron's alpha power, could sense how it flowed through his mental landscape. Carefully, she began creating an imitation. A false stream of energy that mimicked alpha power but was actually just her dreamwalker abilities shaped to look like something the curse would want to consume. It was incredibly difficult. Required absolute concentration and perfect control of abilities she'd only been training with for 3 weeks. But slowly, impossibly, it worked. The curse sensed the false alpha energy and lunged for it, beginning to feed on Margie's carefully constructed imitation instead of Cameron's genuine power. It's working, Cameron said, feeling the curse's pressure lessening. It's actually working, Margie, are you okay? You're using a lot of power. I'm fine, Margie gasped, though maintaining the false energy stream was exhausting. Just need to keep this going long enough for the curse to consume itself. How long do you think? The curse suddenly shifted its attention. It had realized the energy it was consuming wasn't real alpha power. And it redirected its full malicious focus toward Margie. The attack was instant and brutal. Curse magic lashing at Margie's consciousness, trying to corrupt her the way it had corrupted Cameron. Trying to turn her dreamwalker abilities against her. Margie. Cameron's mental voice was desperate. Get out. Withdraw from my consciousness. No, Margie said through gritted teeth. If I leave now, the curse goes back to killing you. I'm not letting that happen. She fought the curse's corruption attempt with everything she had. Her dreamwalker abilities versus dark magic specifically designed to destroy anyone who could cure it. The battle raged through Cameron's mental landscape, Margie defending, the curse attacking, both of them locked in a struggle that was tearing Cameron's consciousness apart as collateral damage. And then Cameron did something that changed everything. He joined the fight. Not against the curse, his alpha power couldn't touch it without feeding it more strength. But against the curse's attack on Margie. Through the soul bond, Cameron channeled his alpha strength to Margie, boosting her dreamwalker abilities, giving her the power she needed to fight back. Together, bonded and fighting as one consciousness, they pushed the curse back. Forced it away from Margie. Compressed it until it was contained in a small section of Cameron's mental landscape. And then, working in perfect synchronization, they did something the curse's creator had never anticipated. They didn't break the curse. They didn't try to remove it. They isolated it. Wrapped it in layers of mental barriers constructed from both dreamwalker and alpha power, creating a prison that the curse couldn't escape from or draw energy through. The curse couldn't feed on Cameron's alpha power if it couldn't reach his alpha power. And it couldn't trigger the kill contingency if they weren't trying to break it. The transformation back to human was slow, but it happened. Cameron shifted, gasping, his body remembering its human form. Margie withdrew from his consciousness carefully, exhausted from the dreamwalking and the battle. When she opened her eyes in the physical world, she found Cameron staring at her with an expression of complete awe. You did it, he said. You didn't break the curse, but you contained it. I can feel it, it's still there, but it can't touch me. Can't feed on my power. Can't trigger episodes. We did it, Margie corrected. I couldn't have fought it alone. You gave me the strength I needed through the bond. Through their connection, emotions flooded both directions, relief, triumph, exhaustion, and something deeper that neither was quite ready to name. The curse is contained but not broken, Cameron said. Which means whoever placed it will know we found a way to neutralize it. They'll respond. Let them, Margie said. Because we just proved that together, we're stronger than their dark magic. And if they want to try again, they'll learn that threatening you means dealing with both of us. Cameron pulled Margie into an embrace that was equal parts relief and promise. Thank you, he whispered. For staying. For fighting. For being brave enough to enter my cursed mind and battle dark magic designed to kill you. Always, Margie replied. We're bonded, remember? Your fights are my fights now. Neither of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows outside Cameron's chambers. A figure who'd just witnessed the impossible and was already planning how to report this development to the Council of Shadows. The Dreamwalker and the Alpha King had contained the curse, which meant the prophecy was beginning to fulfill itself. And the Council would have to escalate their plans. The Council meeting the next morning was tense. Cameron looked better than he had after any previous curse episode, tired but alert, his alpha power no longer battling dark magic corruption. The council members noticed immediately. You're recovered, Hadrian said with obvious relief. The episode was worse than before, but you look almost normal. Margie contained the curse, Cameron said simply. Used dreamwalking to isolate it within my consciousness where it can't feed on my alpha power. It's still there, but it can't affect me. The room erupted with questions. How is that possible? Is it permanent? What are the risks? Can it be replicated if the curse resurfaces? Cameron let them talk for a moment, then used Alpha Command to restore order. Margie will explain the technique. But first, we need to discuss the bigger issue. The curse was deliberately triggered yesterday. Someone with knowledge of curse magic and access to the palace activated it remotely with intent to kill. That silenced the room. Are you certain? One advisor asked. Positive. Margie sensed the trigger while dreamwalking. Someone wanted me dead badly enough to weaponize the curse despite the risk of exposing their involvement. Cameron's voice was cold. We have a spy. Someone working for the Council of Shadows, reporting my activities and actively attempting to eliminate me. The Council of Shadows? Another advisor said skeptically. Alpha King, we've discussed this. Your evidence for this conspiracy is circumstantial at best. My evidence is a curse specifically designed using Council magical signatures, Cameron interrupted. A curse that has killed contingencies built into its structure to eliminate anyone who could cure it. A curse that was triggered by someone with intimate knowledge of palace security and my schedule. That's not circumstantial, that's targeted assassination by a group powerful enough to place operatives in my own council. The advisors looked uncomfortable. If there's a spy, Hadrian said carefully, we need to identify them immediately. But Alpha King, accusing council members without proof will cause division at a time when we need unity. Then we find proof, Cameron said. Margie, can your dreamwalking abilities identify deception? To some extent, Margie said, uncomfortable with all eyes suddenly on her. I can sense emotional states and general truthfulness. But reading detailed thoughts or memories requires the subject's consent. I can't just invade council members' minds to search for treason. Can you sense if someone's hiding something significant? Cameron pressed. Maybe. If they're actively thinking about it while I'm perceiving them. Margie looked around the room. But that's ethically questionable. Using dreamwalking to interrogate without consent is necessary when faced with a spy attempting to kill the Alpha King, Cameron finished. I'm not asking you to read thoughts without permission. Just sense if anyone here is radiating deception or guilt about yesterday's curse trigger. Margie took a breath and activated her dreamwalker perception. The council members' emotional landscapes opened to her awareness, a complex mix of worry, loyalty, political calculation, and personal concerns. Most were genuinely upset about the curse trigger. Genuinely relieved Cameron was recovering. genuinely invested in protecting the kingdom. But one advisor, a man named Thaddeus Blackwood who'd been on the council for over a decade, radiated something different. Not guilt exactly, but careful mental shields. Deliberate thought suppression. The kind of conscious control someone used when they were hiding significant information. Thaddeus, Margie said quietly. You're hiding something. The room went deadly silent. Thaddeus's expression didn't change. We're all hiding personal matters, Margie. Dreamwalking doesn't give you the right to expose private thoughts. I'm not reading your thoughts, Margie said. I'm sensing that you're actively suppressing them. Deliberately controlling your emotional output. That's different from normal privacy, that's defensive concealment. Prove it, Thaddeus challenged. I can't without your consent to deeper dreamwalking, Margie admitted. But Alpha Cameron can command it. If you're innocent, you should have nothing to hide. And if I refuse on principle? My thoughts are my own. Then you'll be removed from council and placed under guard pending investigation, Cameron said coldly. Because innocent council members don't hide behind privacy concerns when their Alpha King was just attacked by weaponized curse magic. Choose, Thaddeus. Consent to dreamwalking examination or accept the consequences of refusal. Thaddeus was silent for a long moment, clearly calculating. Then he smiled. It was cold and utterly without humor. You've already figured it out, he said. Both of you. The moment Margie sensed my shields, you knew. So let's dispense with the pretense. He stood, and Cameron's guards immediately moved to block the exits. I've been Council of Shadows operative in your palace for 12 years, Thaddeus said calmly. Placed here when your father was still Alpha King. My mission was to monitor your family, report on potential threats to council interests, and eliminate those threats when necessary. You cursed me, Cameron said. I facilitated the curse, Thaddeus corrected. The mage you executed was council-trained. His dying words weren't revenge, they were curse activation. I provided the intelligence needed to construct curse magic specifically calibrated to your alpha power. And yes, I triggered it remotely yesterday when it became clear that Margie was developing abilities that could neutralize council magic. Why? Margie asked. What does the council want with Cameron? Control, Thaddeus said simply. The Council of Shadows has guided werewolf society for centuries by controlling who holds power and how they use it. Alphas who cooperate receive support. Those who investigate council activities receive curses, accidents, or political destruction. Cameron chose investigation. He chose to gather evidence against the council. So he received a curse designed to make him unstable enough that removing him from power would be seen as necessary rather than treasonous. But I contained the curse, Margie said. Which means your plan failed. Did it? Thaddeus smiled. You contained one curse, Dreamwalker. The council has been eliminating your bloodline for centuries because of a prophecy. A prophecy that says when a Dreamwalker bonds with the Nightfall Alpha, their combined power will destroy the council's control over werewolf society. You think this curse was the council's full response? You've barely seen the beginning. What prophecy? Cameron demanded. The Dreamwalker prophecy. Recorded over 300 years ago by a seer the council couldn't corrupt or kill. She predicted that in a generation when corruption reached its zenith, a Dreamwalker would emerge and bond with the Nightfall Alpha King. Together, they would develop abilities the council couldn't suppress, mental connection that bypassed council manipulation, power that couldn't be cursed, and the capacity to expose council operations to every werewolf in every territory simultaneously. Thaddeus's smile widened. You've already fulfilled half the prophecy. Margie awakened as Dreamwalker. You bonded during a curse episode. You contained magic designed to kill you both. The council knows what this means. Knows what you'll become if allowed to develop your bonded abilities fully. So they'll try to kill us, Cameron said. They'll do whatever necessary to prevent the prophecy's completion. Kill you. Kill Margie. Destroy the Nightfall Dominion entirely if needed. The council has survived centuries by eliminating threats before they mature. You're the biggest threat they've faced in generations. Why are you telling us this? Margie asked. If you're council operative, why reveal their plans? Because you already won, Thaddeus said. The moment you contained the curse, the moment you proved the bond makes you stronger than council magic, you fulfilled enough of the prophecy that the outcome is inevitable. I'm telling you this because the council will come with everything they have. And I want you to be prepared when they do. He looked at Cameron. You've been a good Alpha King. Better than most I've served under. I regret that my loyalty to the council required undermining you. But understand, they won't stop. Won't negotiate. Won't accept any outcome except your deaths. Prepare accordingly. Take him, Cameron ordered his guards. Maximum security. I want to know everything he knows about council operations, membership, and plans. As guards secured Thaddeus, the traitor looked at Margie one last time. The council hunted dreamwalkers to extinction because they feared exactly this, he said. Feared a bloodline that could enter minds and expose corruption that's been hidden for centuries. You're the first dreamwalker to survive long enough to bond with someone powerful enough to protect you. Use that advantage. Because the council will send everything they have to eliminate you before you eliminate them. He was led away, and the council chamber erupted into chaos. A prophecy? The council has been manipulating us for centuries? How many other operatives are hidden in our ranks? Cameron let them process for a moment, then spoke with absolute authority. The Council of Shadows ends now. We identify every operative. Expose every manipulation. And we protect Margie at all costs because apparently she's the key to dismantling a conspiracy that's controlled werewolf society for 300 years. Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's determination and his fear for her safety. I didn't ask to be a prophesied threat to an ancient conspiracy, she said quietly. No, Cameron agreed. But you are. Which means we have a choice, hide and hope they don't find us, or fight and hope we're strong enough to win. We fight, Margie said without hesitation. Together. Together, Cameron confirmed. Through the bond, power hummed, Dreamwalker and Alpha combined, exactly as the prophecy had predicted. And in a hidden chamber far from the Nightfall Dominion, the Council of Shadows gathered to discuss how to kill the bonded pair before they could fulfill their destiny. The attack came 3 days later. Not subtle. Not covert. Just overwhelming force designed to eliminate both Cameron and Margie before they could develop their bonded abilities further. 25 council operatives breached the palace at dawn, all of them enhanced with dark magic, all of them targeting Cameron's private wing where he and Margie were working on strengthening their bond connection. The first warning was the sound of fighting in the corridors, palace guards engaging intruders who moved with supernatural speed and strength. They're here, Cameron said, feeling the disturbance through his pack bonds. Council assault. Large force. Well trained. How many? Margie asked, already moving toward the reinforced room where they'd planned to retreat during exactly this scenario. At least 24. All magically enhanced. All targeting us specifically. Cameron was issuing orders through pack communication, coordinating defense while moving to protect Margie. But the operatives were fast. 2 of them breached Cameron's private chambers before the security protocols fully activated. Cameron met them with alpha power and combat skills honed over 8 years of rule. He was strong, fast, lethal. But the operatives were enhanced beyond normal werewolf capabilities, their strength boosted by the same dark magic the council used to curse resistant alphas. Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's strain. Felt him taking damage even as he fought. She did the only thing she could think of. She dreamwalked. Not into Cameron's mind this time, but into the operatives attacking him. The intrusion was hostile, unwelcome, and incredibly difficult. These weren't willing subjects, they were trained council agents with mental shields designed specifically to resist dreamwalker abilities. But Margie was learning to push past resistance. She forced her consciousness into the first operative's mind and found something horrifying. They weren't fully conscious. Weren't acting on their own volition. They were controlled, their minds suppressed by council magic, their bodies puppet by someone else's will. Their thralls, Margie gasped. The operatives are being controlled remotely. There's a council mage somewhere nearby directing all of them. Can you break the control? Cameron demanded, fighting desperately against opponents who felt no pain and showed no hesitation. I can try. Margie focused on the control magic binding the operative's consciousness. It was sophisticated, layered suppressions that would kill the operative if removed incorrectly. But Dreamwalker abilities weren't about breaking magic. They were about entering consciousness and working from within. Margie found the operative's suppressed consciousness, a terrified wolf who'd been captured by the council and turned into a weapon through dark magic. I can free you, Margie thought to the trapped mind. But you have to help me. Have to fight the control from your side while I disrupt it from mine. The operative's consciousness responded with desperate hope. Together, they attacked the control magic from within and without. It shattered. The operative collapsed, suddenly freed from the council's mental chains, too overwhelmed to continue fighting. One down. But there were dozens more. And Margie's dreamwalking abilities couldn't affect multiple targets simultaneously. I can free them, Margie told Cameron. But only one at a time. And it takes too long. Then we need to find the controller, Cameron said. Break their connection at the source. Through the bond, they shared tactical awareness. Cameron's combat experience combined with Margie's dreamwalker perception. Together, they identified a pattern in the operative's movements, all of them oriented toward a single location. All receiving commands from the same source. Southwest Tower, Margie said. The controller is in the Southwest Tower. That's outside the palace, Cameron realized. They've set up a command position with line of sight to coordinate the assault. Can we reach them? We'll have to fight through about 15 thralls to get there. Cameron looked at Margie. Can you protect yourself while I clear a path? I can do better than that, Margie said. I can dreamwalk into the controller directly. Force them to release the thralls by disrupting their concentration. That's incredibly dangerous. If the controller is a trained council mage, they'll have defenses specifically designed to kill dreamwalkers who attempt hostile intrusion. Probably, Margie agreed. But we don't have better options. You can't fight all these thralls, and I can't free them fast enough. We go after the controller or we die here. Through the bond, Cameron felt Margie's determination and her terror balanced perfectly. Then we do it together, he decided. You dreamwalk. I'll protect your body while you're vulnerable. And if anything happens, if the controller hurts you, you'll feel it through the bond, Margie finished. And you'll know whether to pull me out or give me more time. Trust works both directions, remember? Cameron pulled Margie close briefly. Be careful. I just got you. I'm not losing you to a council mage. Same, Margie replied. So don't die while I'm dreamwalking, okay? Deal. Margie positioned herself in the most defensible corner of Cameron's chambers and activated her Dreamwalker abilities with more power than she'd ever used. She pushed her consciousness out of her body, through the palace walls, across the distance to the southwest tower. Found the council mage coordinating the assault. And slammed into mental defenses that nearly killed her on contact. The mage was old, powerful, experienced in exactly this kind of mental warfare. Their consciousness was protected by layers of dark magic specifically calibrated to destroy Dreamwalkers. But Margie had something the council mage didn't expect. She had Cameron. Through the soul bond, Cameron's alpha power flooded into Margie's dreamwalking attempt. Boosted her abilities. Gave her the strength to push through defenses that should have been impenetrable. The mage's consciousness opened to her perception. And Margie found herself in a mental landscape that was a nightmare made manifest, 3 centuries of dark magic practice, hundreds of minds corrupted or controlled, knowledge of conspiracy and manipulation that made her sick to witness. Dreamwalker, the mage's mental voice was ancient and cold. The council warned me you'd attempt this. Warned me to prepare defenses. Did you think you'd be the first of your bloodline to try mental assault against us? I don't need to assault you, Margie said. I just need to distract you long enough to disrupt your control over the thralls. She didn't attack the mage's consciousness directly. That would have been suicide against someone this experienced. Instead, she attacked the connection between the mage and the controlled operatives. Used her Dreamwalker abilities to sever the threads of control magic, one by one, faster than the mage could reinforce them. The mage realized what she was doing and struck back, dark magic lashing at Margie's consciousness, trying to corrupt her the way they'd corrupted countless wolves before. But Cameron felt the attack through the bond. Felt Margie's pain. And responded with alpha power that poured through their connection, protecting Margie's consciousness from corruption. Together, bonded and fighting as one, they broke the mage's control completely. All the thralls collapsed simultaneously, freed from the compulsion that had turned them into weapons. The mage screamed in rage. You cannot stop the council. We've existed for centuries. We've eliminated threats greater than you. Maybe, Margie said. But you never faced a Dreamwalker bonded to an Alpha King. You never faced someone who could enter your mind and see every atrocity you've committed. Every wolf you've corrupted. Every conspiracy you've orchestrated. She pulled memories from the mage's consciousness, not everything, but enough. Names of council members. Evidence of manipulations. Proof of crimes stretching back generations. What are you doing? The mage demanded. Stop, you can't. I'm exposing you, Margie said. Taking your knowledge and making it public. That's what Dreamwalkers do, we reveal truth that powerful people want hidden. She withdrew from the mage's mind carefully, carrying the stolen memories back to her own consciousness. When she opened her eyes in the physical world, Cameron was standing over her, bloodied but alive, having defended her body while she dreamwalked. Did you get it? He asked. Yes. Names, evidence, everything we need to prove the council exists and expose what they've been doing. Through the palace, freed thralls were being secured by guards. The assault was over. But Margie knew this was just the beginning. They'll come again, she said. Harder. With more resources. We exposed one mage and broke one assault. The council has been operating for centuries, they won't stop because we won one fight. Then we don't give them the chance, Cameron said. We take the fight to them. Use the evidence you gathered to expose them to every alpha in every territory. Force them into the open where they can't hide behind manipulation and curses. That will start a war, Margie said. Yes, Cameron agreed. But it's a war we can win. Because we have something the council doesn't, a bond that makes us stronger together than any of their dark magic can match. Through the bond, Margie felt Cameron's absolute conviction. And her own determination rising to meet it. They'd survived the council's assault. Now it was time to dismantle the conspiracy that had controlled werewolf society for 300 years. Together. The territory summit was unprecedented. Every major alpha in 5 territories attended, summoned by Cameron's urgent message that he had proof of a conspiracy affecting all werewolf governance. Margie stood beside Cameron as he presented the evidence, memories she'd pulled from the council mage's mind, projected through dreamwalking so every alpha could witness the truth directly. 3 centuries of manipulation. Curses placed on resistant alphas. Operatives embedded in every major pack. Political decisions guided by council interests rather than pack welfare. The reaction was explosive. Some alphas denied it. Some had suspected but lacked proof. Some had been council operatives themselves and now faced exposure. But slowly, inevitably, the truth became undeniable. The Council of Shadows existed. Had existed for centuries. Had controlled werewolf society through methods most alphas never suspected. "What do you propose?" one alpha demanded. "If this conspiracy has roots in every territory, how do we eliminate it without destroying pack structure entirely?" "We identify operatives systematically," Cameron said. "Margie can use dreamwalking to examine suspected council members. With their consent, she can verify loyalty or expose corruption. It will take time, but it's the only way to root out the conspiracy completely." "You're asking us to submit to the dreamwalking examination," another alpha said skeptically. "To let an omega enter our minds?" "I'm asking you to let a dreamwalker, the rarest bloodline in existence, help protect your packs from a conspiracy that's been manipulating you for generations," Cameron corrected. "And yes, that means submitting to the examination. Unless you prefer to leave council operatives embedded in your ranks." The debate continued for hours. But ultimately, the evidence was too strong to ignore. The Council of Shadows had been exposed. One by one, alphas agreed to the examination process. And over the next 3 months, Margie worked tirelessly, dreamwalking into willing subjects, identifying council operatives, exposing the full scope of the conspiracy. It was exhausting, dangerous work. Some operatives fought back. Some attempted to kill Margie before she could expose them. Some had mental traps designed to damage dreamwalkers who examined them. But Cameron was always there. Always protecting her. Always boosting her abilities through the bond when she needed extra strength. Together, they dismantled the Council of Shadows piece by piece. By the end of the 6th month, over 200 council operatives had been identified and removed from positions of power. The conspiracy that had controlled werewolf society for centuries was finally broken. And the prophecy had been fulfilled. 6 months later. Margie stood in the palace gardens, watching the sunset and thinking about how much had changed in a year. She'd gone from anonymous Omega assistant to legendary dreamwalker who'd helped expose a centuries-old conspiracy. She'd formed a soul bond with an alpha king that had saved both their lives repeatedly. She'd learned to control abilities she never knew she had. And she'd helped dismantle a conspiracy that had controlled werewolf society since before she was born. "Tired?" Cameron asked, joining her in the gardens. "Exhausted," Margie admitted. "But good exhausted. Accomplished exhausted. The council wants to formally recognize your role in exposing the Council of Shadows," Cameron said. "Create an official position for you. Dreamwalker Arbiter or something similarly important sounding." "I don't need a title," Margie said. "I'm happy just being your bondmate and occasional mind healer." "About that," Cameron said carefully. "We've been bonded for almost a year. We've fought curses, conspiracies, and dark mages together. We've proven that our bond makes us stronger than any threat we've faced. Yes, Margie agreed, wondering where this was going. And over that time, I've fallen completely in love with you. Not because of the bond, though the bond is wonderful. But because of who you are. The quiet Omega who stayed when everyone else ran. The dreamwalker who fought dark magic to save an Alpha King she barely knew. The woman was brave enough to enter hostile minds and expose the truth that powerful people wanted hidden. Margie's heart was racing. Cameron. I know we agreed to take time, Cameron continued. To make sure what we felt was real and not just bond proximity. But Margie, I've had that time. I've had a year of working beside you, fighting beside you, building a future beside you. And I know what I feel is real. I know it too, Margie said softly. I love you. Not because we're bonded, though the bond is amazing. But because of who you are. The Alpha King who took time to help a struggling Omega. Who fought a curse that would have broken lesser wolves. Who was brave enough to investigate conspiracies knowing it would make him a target. Through the bond, emotions flooded both directions, love, certainty, the kind of joy that came from knowing you'd found exactly who you were meant to be with. Then we should probably make this official, Cameron said, pulling out a ring that gleamed silver in the sunset light. Margie Wason, dreamwalker and bondmate, will you marry me? Not because prophecy said we'd bond, but because I choose you. Because I love you. Because I want to build our future together. Yes, Margie said without hesitation. Yes to choosing you. Yes to building our future. Yes to everything we can be together. Cameron slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a kiss that felt like coming home. When they finally pulled apart, Margie laughed. So I went from quiet Omega assistant to engaged to the Alpha King in 1 year. That's quite a journey. You were always more than quiet Omega, Cameron corrected. You were always dreamwalker. Always brave. Always exactly who I needed. The journey was just you discovering what you'd always been. Through the bond, Margie felt the absolute truth of that. She'd stayed beside Cameron when everyone else ran. And in staying, she'd discovered abilities, strength, and love she never knew she had. Sometimes being brave wasn't about being strong. It was about staying. About fighting. About refusing to run when running would have been easier. And sometimes the quiet Omega who dared to stay was exactly the hero the story needed. The end. A quiet Omega stayed beside a cursed Alpha King when healers failed and warriors stepped back, courage activated, discovered she's actually legendary dreamwalker bloodline thought extinct for centuries, identity reveal, formed a soul bond that saved both their lives and fulfilled a 300-year prophecy, destiny unlocked, and spent 6 months systematically dismantling a conspiracy that had controlled werewolf society since before she was born while falling in love with the Alpha who'd always seen her worth? Margie went from anonymous assistant nobody notices to dreamwalker who exposed the Council of Shadows and changed werewolf society forever while proving that sometimes staying when everyone else runs isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. Subscribe for more stories where quiet Omegas are secretly legendary bloodlines, where staying beside someone through their worst moments creates bonds stronger than any magic, where underestimated wolves prove that strength isn't just physical power, and where love built through fighting conspiracies together is stronger than anything prophecy could predict.